It is a historic day in the Middle East. The war in Gaza coming to an end a little more than 2 years after it began. The president reiterated the importance of this day while speaking to the Israeli parliament just a short time ago.
Generations from now, this will be remembered as the moment that everything began to change, and change very much for the better. Like the USA right now, it will be the golden age of Israel and the golden age of the Middle East. It's going to work together.
Joining us now is someone who was at the Knesset to witness this speech in person, Rabbi Stephen Berg, CEO of the Aish World Center, a nonprofit Jewish educational organization. Rabbi, good morning to you. Thanks so much for joining us. You just left the Knesset. Tell us what it was like there in person, because it just seemed electric watching it on TV.
I mean, it was historical. I mean, you had a sense, everyone had a sense that they were sitting in a moment of history of someone. Everyone's talked about peace for decades, and here was someone that really brought it home. And the love, it was history and love combined together, because the Israelis understand that President Trump is someone who says what he means and means what he says, and he delivered. And peace for us is all we've ever wanted.
2 years, 737 days since Hamas terrorists took captive those hostages, and now they're coming home. What has the atmosphere been like there in Israel, and what is it like today?
I mean, the emotions are overwhelming. Everyone was watching families being united on their phones as they were listening to the speech. And, you know, we're right there by the Western Wall, right behind us. That's where our offices are. I mean, it was jam-packed last night, throughout the night. I mean, you're talking about tens of thousands of people coming there, praying, thanking. This has been a 2-year nightmare, which is finally over. And, you know, we're ready to move on. And thankfully, the United States is the greatest country in the world. And I think everyone should know that, because only the United States could have stepped in and done what has been done. And I think only President Trump could have done it. And I think the Israeli people understand that. And so we're thankful to God, because we know this was, he played a big part here. We're also thankful to him for sending us the United States of America and President Trump.
I got to tell you, it's really remarkable to even be live with you right now and to see the background there behind you, because you don't hear the sirens, you don't hear gunfire. I mean, just talk about that. It just seems so peaceful there behind you.
This is a place of prayer. And as I mentioned to many people, from 1948 to 1967, if I was a Jew standing where I'm standing, I would have been killed. Since 1967, when Israel took over the old city of Jerusalem, all three religions have been able to flourish. So I have good relationships with the Christians and the Muslims that are here in the old city, and the Jews. And we want to go back to a place of prayer, because that's biblically what it was designated as. And you're exactly right. We're not hearing the shells in the distance, and we're not hearing the gunfire. And this is what we want to live in peace. And therefore, everyone has to step up, and the education of young people has to be that peace is something to seek out, not the killing of Jews.
What did you think about the terms of this peace deal? Because as we know, 2,000 Palestinian prisoners, detainees were also released as a result of this.
Painful beyond belief. I don't think anyone around the world understands how painful this was for Jews and Israelis to have murderers go free. It's literally as if you're letting serial killers out as part of a deal. These are terrorists, and it's very, very painful. But for us, these 20 young men coming back alive, I can't even give the value upon that. So we know that we have to sacrifice for peace. We're not thrilled. But, you know, the truth is, when you make peace, neither side is thrilled. And I think we understand that. And I hope the other side understands that. And we need to move on. But frankly, no one in Israel actually expects the other side to move on, because we understand that now they're going to try to bring Israel to criminal court. They're going to try to push this as far as they can, instead of trying to make peace practically, like the American administration has done. So our hearts are a little bit broken. But as I tell everyone, there's nothing stronger than the broken heart of a Jew. Our hearts have been broken, but our hearts are much stronger now, and we're going to continue to pursue peace.
I want to listen to some of President Trump's historic speech to Parliament. I know you just witnessed it as well in person. Let's take a listen together.
This is now a very exciting time for Israel and for the entire Middle East, because all across the Middle East, the forces of chaos, terror, and ruin that have plagued the region for decades now stand weakened, isolated, and totally defeated. A new coalition of proud and responsible nations is emerging. And because of us, the enemies of all civilization are in retreat. Thanks to the bravery and incredible skill of the Israeli Defense Forces and Operation Rising Lion,
I wanted to play this because I wanted you to talk a little bit about the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, and just how amazing they are for your country and how they've defended you guys so well.
Look, I can tell you that from my own family's experience, to make it personal, I have two nephews that serve in the IDF and Special Forces. One of them got married 10 days before October 7th, and for a year, almost barely saw his wife. And I called my sister every day. Every morning, I would start my day calling my sister, how are the boys doing? And for us, it's a country of a draft, but it's more than that. It's a country of service, a country that looks back at 2,000 years of persecution. We look back at the Holocaust, and we understand that our young men and young women of the IDF must defend the Jewish people. And so there was never any question that, you know, when they came across and killed the Jews they did and took them as hostage, we kept saying that for 2 years. We said, return the hostages and this will all be over. And there was no pressure from the rest of the world on Hamas to give back those hostages. So we could not have been prouder of the young men and young women of the IDF. And we lost 1,000 souls along the way the last 2 years. But their sacrifice was here so we can live and walk the streets and live in peace. And they're heroes. And last night, I was with one of the families waiting for their son's body to be returned. He was a hero. He was supposed to have surgery that day. He heard about what was going on. He grabbed a gun. Was special. He went down the fight and he was killed. And we were dancing with a Torah scroll, which is our holiest item that was given in his memory. So we push forward. We push forward, and there's not one of those 1,000 soldiers that we will not carry around in our hearts the rest of our lives.
Rabbi Stephen Berg, such a pleasure to talk to you this morning. And it's just wonderful to see that live picture there from Israel and just how beautiful and peaceful it is there behind you there, the Holy Land. God bless you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. God bless. Thank you.
Emotional reunions as the final 20 hostages held by Hamas were reunited with their families across Israel. People cheered in Tel Aviv celebrating this milestone moment. Under a U.S.-brokered ceasefire deal, hundreds of Palestinian prisoners and detainees were met with large crowds as they also reunited with their relatives in the West Bank. President Donald Trump declared a dawn of a new Middle East.
This deal, this once-in-a-lifetime deal, nobody's ever seen anything like what's happening today.
On Monday, photos released by the Israeli Prime Minister's office show a freed hostage playing with his children for the first time in 2 years. Families say they never stopped fighting for the release of their loved ones.
Keep sharing your stories to policymakers. Keep telling us what do you think needs to happen and give us ideas on how we can break the deadlock. And we kept doing that. They kept open the White House for us. And President Trump has done it.
President Trump said that phase 2 of his 20-point ceasefire plan to end the war between Israel and Hamas has already started as he meets with world leaders in Egypt for a summit on Gaza's future and peace in the Middle East.
You look at Gaza, it needs a lot of cleanup.
This is clearly, in my mind, I think in the mind of everyone in this room, probably one of the most important days for world peace in 50 years.
Right. And we appreciate
I'm Maribel Gonzalez reporting.
How did you get out, and how did Keith get out?
I got it out on a deal that all the women and the children, after 51 days, Keith stayed there for a year and 4 months, and he came out on a deal.
And he's American.
He's American.
And he was just, you told me, in Washington meeting with President Trump?
Yes. He didn't meet President Trump, he spoke to him, and I want to say that Keith, since he came back for the last 8 months, has been 5 times in the States. I was there 17 times. I met everybody that you can think about. I met more than 100 congressmen, and I became very close to Witkoff. I talked to him all the time, and I want to thank President Trump.
You're talking about the president's personal special envoy, Steve Witkoff.
Yes, and he's working hard around the clock, and I want to thank him for that from the bottom of my heart. I want to thank him from the from this whole country. We need to smile. We've been waiting for it for too long. It's been so sad, just so sad. And for us, Keith and I, being a hostage, knowing what's happening there and what they're feeling, the hostages, is one of the worst things that any person can go through.
So many of the hostage families I've been seeing here at Hostage Square are telling me they give so much credit to President Trump for making this happen.
You know, I want to say that he's got such a big part in it, and I want to thank him, and we all want to thank him. But I do know that soldiers have been working so hard, and so many of them have died.
Israeli soldiers.
Israeli soldiers have died because they've done everything they could to bring the hostages home. So I think it's like a work that they did together. And our president, Bibi Netanyahu, has pushed and wants them home alive. And we've got so many hostages that didn't make it. So it's a very, very happy moment, because I think the little ones that will come back and will be able to live their lives with their families, and their families have been waiting. But there's lots of sadness of the ones that will never come back alive.
A lot of people here are so excited like you are, so happy that this is about to take place, but they're also so nervous that, God forbid, something could go wrong. Are you among them?
No, I'm happy. It's going to happen. I'm keeping my strength for good things, and it's going to happen. It can't not happen. It just can't not happen. It's going to happen. I believe that. From the minute I heard that the deal is coming true, I believed it. And I've been around people that have asking me, are you sure about it? And what happens if it doesn't happen? I'm sure about it. It's going to happen.
I'm with you. I hope you get to hug all those hostages who are coming back very, very soon.
Can I give you a hug?
Please. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Matt Gelke in Washington, where the details of Phase 1 of a potentially historic peace deal between Israel and Hamas are starting to emerge. Israel and Hamas signed on to Phase 1 of a U.S.-led peace deal Thursday. It starts with a ceasefire and hostage release. At the White House, the president celebrated the agreement during a cabinet meeting.
Something that people said was never going to be done. We ended the war in Gaza and really, on a much bigger basis, created peace. And I think it's going to be a lasting peace, hopefully an everlasting peace. Peace in the Middle East.
A full ceasefire in Gaza is set to go into effect within 24 hours of Israel formally ratifying it. That includes a partial withdrawal of Israeli forces and then a 72-hour countdown for Hamas to release hostages. There's believed to be about 20 remaining living hostages and the remains of 25 others.
We are getting the hostages back on Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday. And that'll be a day of joy. I'm going to try and make a trip over.
The deal represents a breakthrough in a 2-year war that started with the deadliest massacre of Jewish people since the Holocaust. Gaza's health ministry has said nearly 70,000 Palestinians have since died, with the country in a humanitarian crisis. There were celebrations in Israel and Gaza when reports of a deal first emerged. The concern with any agreement is whether or not it holds. The hostage release is only described as Phase 1. The peace deal proposed by the Trump administration is a 20-point plan that includes rebuilding Gaza without Hamas. The timeline of how future phases would play out is still unclear.
There will be disarming, there will be pullbacks, there will be a lot of things that are happening. You know, I gave you a whole list of 22 different things that will happen, will take place. And I think it'll take place, and I think you're going to end up with peace in the Middle East. But we have to get our hostages back. And we weren't going to do it at the end, we're going to do it at the beginning.
President Trump says he's been asked to address the Knesset, Israel's parliament, and that speech could take place as early as this weekend. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelke.